They were once the faces that lit up cinema screens, innocent smiles, big eyes, and voices that carried hope, laughter, and childhood wonder to millions. For a moment in time, they were Hollywood. But fame, especially for a child, can be a cruel companion. The same studios that once adored them eventually forgot their names. The flashing lights dimmed, the applause faded, and the children who once ruled the box office disappeared. Some by choice, others by tragedy. Today, we're revisiting 15 child stars who completely vanished from Hollywood, uncovering what truly happened when the spotlight went dark. That if this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. 1. Bobby Driscoll, Disney's Forgotten Prince. He was Disney's golden boy, the voice and face of Peter Pan, the spirited child every audience loved. But behind the magic, Bobby's story was anything but fairy tale. After his teenage years, the studio that once called him their future began to see him as a liability. His looks changed, and so did his value to the system. By 23, he was unemployed, addicted, and homeless. In 1968, Bobby was found dead in an abandoned New York building, buried in an unmarked grave. For years, nobody even realized Disney's most beloved child star was gone. 2. Margaret O'Brien, the girl who grew too fast. Known for Meet Me in St. Louis, Margaret O'Brien was MGM's tiny powerhouse, dramatic, talented, unstoppable. But as she grew older, Hollywood didn't know what to do with her. The child who could cry on cue suddenly wasn't cute anymore. O'Brien tried television, stage, even commercials, but the magic she once embodied didn't translate. Eventually, she quietly left Hollywood, choosing peace over publicity. Today, she lives privately, one of the few child stars who escaped the system with her sanity intact. 3. Shirley Temple, the girl who saved a nation. She danced, she sang, and she made America smile during its darkest days, the Great Depression. Shirley Temple wasn't just a child star, she was an institution. But when her curls straightened and her childlike voice matured, the world moved on. Her teenage films flopped, and at 22, she retired, not out of defeat, but out of wisdom. Later, she reinvented herself as a diplomat, proving that a former child star could still shine, just under a different light. 4. Jonathan Brandis, the boy who had everything. In the 1990s, Jonathan Brandis was everywhere. From Ladybugs to Sequest DSV, he was the heartthrob every teenager adored. But the industry that built him up also tore him down. As adult roles dried up, Jonathan's confidence crumbled. Friends described him as depressed, struggling with rejection. In 2003, at just 27, he took his own life, a tragic reminder that fame doesn't heal. Sometimes it hurts in silence. 5. Haley Joel Osment, the boy who saw too much. I see dead people. Those 4 words turned Haley Joel Osment into an overnight legend. After The Sixth Sense, everyone expected a lifelong Hollywood career. But Haley's choice was different. Instead of chasing fame, he stepped back, focusing on education and voice acting. He later returned in small, powerful roles, comfortable with not being the star anymore. In his quiet way, Haley found balance, something few child actors ever manage. 6. Mara Wilson, the Matilda who walked away. From Mrs. Doubtfire to Matilda, Mara Wilson was the face of childhood wonder in the 90s. But behind the scenes, the loss of her mother and the pressures of fame took their toll. By her teenage years, Mara realized she didn't want Hollywood's version of happiness. She left, choosing writing and theater instead. Today, she's an author and mental health advocate, a storyteller who found her voice far from the cameras. 7. Gary Coleman, the star who couldn't grow up. What you talking about, Willis? Gary Coleman's catchphrase from Different Strokes made him one of the most recognizable faces on television. But fame couldn't protect him from exploitation. By 18, his parents and advisors had drained his earnings. His health deteriorated, and his adult career faltered. Despite lawsuits and odd jobs, he never escaped the shadow of his child fame. Coleman died in 2010 after a fall, broke, bitter, but unforgettable. 8. Dana Plato, The Price of Fame. Also from Different Strokes, Dana Plato's life mirrored tragedy. Fired from the show at 19 after becoming pregnant, she spiraled into addiction and minor crime. She tried to rebuild, even appearing on the Howard Stern Show days before her death, but pain followed her everywhere. In 1999, she overdosed. Her death ruled a suicide. Years later, her son also took his own life, a haunting echo of a family consumed by fame's darkness. 9. Macaulay Culkin, the boy who outsmarted Hollywood. He was the home alone kid, the face of every Christmas for a generation. But behind the scenes, Macaulay was caught in a bitter custody and money battle between his parents. By his teens, he'd walked away from acting altogether, exhausted by fame. The tabloids called it a meltdown, but really it was a rescue. Years later, he returned quietly, not as a blockbuster star, but as an artist, musician, and podcast host, someone finally in control of his own story. 10. Tatum O'Neal, the youngest Oscar winner who lost everything. At just 10, Tatum O'Neal won an Academy Award for Paper Moon. She was supposed to have it all, but her childhood was chaos, a storm of neglect, drug use, and conflict with her father, Ryan O'Neal. Hollywood adored her talent, but ignored her trauma. Her later years were marked by addiction and estrangement, but also resilience. She's still fighting, proof that some stars, even dimmed, refuse to go out completely. 11. Jodie Foster, the rare survivor. Not every child star vanishes in tragedy. Jodie Foster is one of the rare exceptions. After her breakout in Taxi Driver, she transitioned into adulthood with intelligence and control by stepping away from Hollywood at key moments. While many of her peers collapsed under pressure, Foster chose privacy, education, and reinvention. She remains a symbol of how rare survival in fame's storm really is. 12. Lindsay Lohan, the girl who grew up too publicly. She had the charm of Shirley Temple and the confidence of a pop icon. From The Parent Trap to Mean Girls, Lindsay Lohan seemed unstoppable. But the constant scrutiny, paparazzi chases, and personal mistakes turned her into a tabloid spectacle. Hollywood loves a comeback story, and Lindsay keeps trying, but she also represents something deeper: how impossible it is to grow up when the world refuses to let you. 13. Corey Haim, the lost 80s heartthrob. He was the golden boy of the Lost Boys, loved for his energy and charisma. But Hollywood in the 80s was a dangerous playground for young actors. Behind closed doors, Corey battled addiction, exploitation, and heartbreak. He was open about the abuse he suffered as a teen, trauma that haunted him for decades. In 2010, Corey Haim died of pneumonia, penniless and alone. His story remains one of Hollywood's most painful warnings. 14. Anissa Jones, Buffy's Sad Goodbye. Anissa Jones became famous at just 6 years old for Family Affair. But when the show ended, she was abandoned by an industry that had no use for a teenager. By 18, she was out of work, out of money, and out of options. At a friend's party, she overdosed, dying before she ever had the chance to become an adult. Her death shocked Hollywood, but her story was quietly forgotten, another casualty of a system built on youth and profit. 15. River Phoenix, The Brightest Flame. River Phoenix wasn't just a child actor, he was a phenomenon. Intelligent, gentle, and ahead of his time. From Stand By Me to My Own Private Idaho, his performances carried a depth far beyond his years. But behind that brilliance was vulnerability. Hollywood's pressure combined with exhaustion and substance use ended his life at 23. Collapsing outside the Viper Room, his brother Joaquin by his side. River's death became a symbol of everything broken about fame, how it burns brightest right before it consumes itself. Fame promises immortality, that if the world knows your name, you'll live forever. But for these 15 child stars, Hollywood's love was fleeting. The same system that built their dreams also erased them. Some found peace in ordinary lives. Others were swallowed by the weight of their own legacies. Their stories remind us that behind every smiling face on screen is a child, One who deserves protection, not exploitation, love, not pressure, humanity, not performance. And though many vanished from the spotlight, their echoes remain in the films they left behind, in the lessons they taught, and in the reminder that sometimes walking away from fame isn't failure. It's freedom. Which of these forgotten stars do you remember most? Let us know in the comments, and if you'd like to see more untold Hollywood stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because sometimes the stories behind the spotlight are the ones that need to be seen the most.